I may join you if my back doesn't stop
Yeah.
hurting soon.
Still bugging you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Since you said that, mine has been flaring up, but it has nothing to do with my back workout. I think it has to do with my leg workout. I've been, I think, pressing too much. I started doing, instead of like a seated leg press where you push away, I've been doing a almost reclined backwards on the floor leg press where you push up. And a few times while I've been doing that, I felt something crack in my lower back. Like it didn't cause me any pain. It just felt like, how sometimes you go like this and you crack your back.
Yeah.
It felt like that. But now it just kind of doesn't feel quite right. Like it's not causing me pain necessarily.
Just like discomfort.
Yeah.
I get you. I have a couple working theories as to mine. One of which would be absolutely hilarious if it's the right one, but I think it might be. So when I am home and when I like lounge,
everything seems to be right.
How dare you? When I lounge, I typically am like a lay on my stomach, horizontal, like chest up against the arm of the chair.
Okay.
That's how I've always been comfortable.
Okay.
Like laying on the couch. Like you've seen my couch. Like I lay up against the arm.
Couch.
Yeah. I don't like to just like sit, especially in this couch. It's kind of low.
Sure.
And I feel like I'll never get up again. But I think what's happening is because there's less cushion in like my stomach, because it's getting smaller, my back is having to do this more, which is in turn causing my lower back to hurt.
I will tell you, as a person who does not have a significant amount of cushion in the front, I have a very, very limited time that I can ever be comfortable laying on my stomach in any situation ever.
Yeah, I think that might be what's happening. And it's like,
yeah, because I will feel that in my back.
Yeah, see? So maybe that's what's going on. So I stopped doing that like a couple days ago, and now I'm hoping I got a new memory foam cushion for my chair that I'm sitting in now, because that's also my work chair. So I'm hopeful that by the time I do have to go to the doctor next week for this, I will not need to.
Right.
Like I'll be like, I'm fine. I'm good. Yeah. We'll see.
So we shall.
All right. I have my group going first, by the way.
Yes, correct.
Good. I'm glad it's correct. Let me just make sure I have my captions right. I do. How would you feel about starting?
I would love it. I'm ready when you are.
I'm ready.
2, 1.
Totem, rising up your talks and play your podcast hard, because hell's broke loose in music and the devil deals the cards. When you this shiny podcast made of gold, but if you lose, the devil gets your soul.
Did you write that one down?
I didn't.
Really? Okay.
I didn't. I started rapidly thinking of how to make a Totem Talks theme song out of it during the video, as I always do.
I love it, because that one really, at first, it felt rehearsed. I'm not going to lie, you stumbled a little bit, but I was like, that's okay, because sometimes we write things down and you think you know how it's going to go in your head.
Yeah.
You don't actually rehearse it out loud and you still stumble a little bit, and that's normal. But I'm impressed.
Thank you very much. Honestly,
which is great, because
last week would have been avoided if I wrote it down.
Really disappointing last week. So
listen, how on earth? I still couldn't name a song from either of the bands last week.
But didn't they have the best names, though?
They did have the best names, but unfortunately, I know more songs by both of these artists.
Fair.
But hey, it is what it is.
One each for me.
It's only one each for you? No, that's a lie.
Okay.
That's crazy. You really don't.
I knew one song by each artist.
We'll talk. I feel like I can name 3 songs by my artist.
I could have named one and we didn't cover it.
Really? I'm fascinated.
Okay.
I know which one you're talking about, but I am fascinated. All right. We'll get there. We will get there. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Totem Talks. This is season 8, episode 5. And we are talking about how different country music can be. That's basically
And
the gist.
yes, it can be different.
It certainly can be. And I want to be clear. Nick and I have a love of classic country music,
Sure.
which is now more defined as like Americana music, I would say. This is not that. This is country music. Both ends of the
Some of
spectrum.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of genres you can use to describe one of these bands.
That is true.
There's like one genre you can use to describe the other one.
Yeah. So either way, we'll get there. But if you are new to Totem Talks, if you have no clue what's going on, Nick and I have been given a quest from the musical beings above.
That's right.
To find the greatest musical artist of all time.
That's right.
We
Mozart's
are
Ghosts.
scouring.
He tasked us with this.
Yes. We are scouring high and low. We are soon to be scouring the whole world.
That's true.
Although we've kind of touched on the world. I mean, we've touched on multiple countries in Europe. We touched on Iceland and Britain and Ireland and Scotland.
We do have an episode this season that will preview some of our more international artists. But
Wonderful.
we do have a full season coming up at some point that will be exclusively our tour around the world of music. So I'm very excited for that.
As am I. But today is not that day.
Correct.
Today we are firmly planted in the middle of America, going through some country music as we try to determine if either of these artists are the greatest musical act of all time.
That's right. We'll do our best.
We'll do our best, Nick. And if you could just remind me, because I might forget.
Yeah, of course.
Who are we covering today?
Right. So we're kicking things off with Rascal Flatts. And then they're not the greatest artist of all time. And we're following them up with, we have combined Charlie Daniels / the Charlie Daniels Band. So the entire career of Charlie Daniels Band and Sands Band as the second artist today.
Okay. Look, I love it.
Me too.
And I guess I'll get us started here. So we'll start with Rascal Flatts. So Rascal Flatts is an American country music band formed in 1999 in Nashville, Tennessee. And they were active from 1999 to 2021, and then again from 2024 until the present day. That's what we got so far.
For a second.
We covered 3 albums. So we started with, hey, we love to see it, the eponymous debut, Rascal Flatts from the year 2000. We followed that up with Feels Like Today from 2004. And then we wrapped it up with Back to Us from 2017.
That's right.
And I will get us started.
Yeah, go right ahead.
And first thing I'll say is the good of this band. And that is the vocals. All of the vocals are excellent quality. Gary LaVox is a phenomenal vocalist.
I mean, you got
it's a stage name, but yes, it is an apt stage name for him.
Yes.
But not only is the lead vocal incredibly strong, a very talented singer, they incorporate a ton of harmony and melody, like multiple melodies throughout to create almost like a choral sound at times. All positive. The songs are bad. That's just the truth. So here's my issue with this first album. It's a country pop album that is just really, really trying to appeal to as many people as possible.
Correct.
And therefore it does not appeal to me. I much prefer artists, even if I don't like the artist, I prefer an artist with a message. A great example of that is we covered Beck. And you really like Beck. I was a lot more mixed on Beck. But one of the things that I really liked about Beck was that you could not argue that he wasn't being completely authentic to himself. Exactly. And I really respect that, even if I didn't like the product. Whereas this just doesn't feel authentic in any way. It's I view an album like this as proof that really good vocals cannot overcome bad songwriting.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm fully in agreement. My notes are very similar to yours. And I think I've been and we had this discussion last week with electronic music, and I brought up the fact that I was actually like really interested in Kraftwerk, despite like not necessarily loving that sound in other areas. And here's what I've decided over the course of this podcast. If there is one factor upon which you can most reliably determine how much I will like and or respect an artist, it's the
Yeah.
authenticity. Authenticity has way more to do with whether or not I will like you than genre, than instrumentation, than the subject matter that you sing about, than the year that you came out. And there's none of that here. So I did something for each one of these albums. There were 11 songs on this album. There were 22 writers of those 11 songs. Two of these songs had partial credits from actual members of
Yeah.
the band. No band members like wrote a song just with the band.
Now, since you spent such a deep dive on the writing, I'm curious if you made the same at a glance mistake that I almost made, which is one of these
Okay.
songs is partially written by a man named Tommy Lee James. And I fully
Yes.
thought for a second it was Tommy Lee Jones. My brain
Yes.
just
Uh-huh.
went Tommy Lee Jones, and then I kept going, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what?"
No. No, wait,
Because that
not
would
him.
have been the best part of this
Mhm.
album.
Agreed. So because it's the year 2000, what I ended up hearing from this album that gives you my basically like overall opinion on it is it sounded like the Backstreet Boys came out with a country album. Like it's produced well. You got a bunch of these famous songwriters working on it to make sure that it panders exactly to the mean. Um, and you've got like solidly performed record, like good singers, but it is just like no substance whatsoever.
Now, before you move on to the second album, because we both agree on
Of
this
course.
album, a real letdown. Not that I was expecting much, but I knew what I was getting with Rascal Flats, which was going to be really, really strong vocals, but not a ton of
Sure.
lyrical depth. And that's exactly what I got.
Right.
The last
Yeah.
song on this album, I'm Moving On. Did you not hear that it sounded like a knockoff Dollar Store Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds throughout the whole song?
Hmm. I'm gonna have
You
to
need to give
reevaluate
it
that.
I know how much you don't wanna do this, but you
Okay.
should give at least like a 30-second listen
Just to yeah,
because
because it's very possible that at this point in the album, my brain was just like
it literally
self-immolating.
goes like, "I've dealt
So
with my ghosts and I've faced all my demons," and so it doesn't
okay.
do like the da 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 da,
Mhm.
like the part that really makes it, that whole little melody,
Right.
but it
Okay.
does enough of the
Yeah.
melody throughout the song that I'm like, Hold on. Stop doing that, please, stop."
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Feels like today. I'll tell you the metrics have improved. There are 12 songs. Only 20 people took to write them. And 4 of the songs now have credits from band members. But despite this, I made a very big
Ooh.
mistake. I listened to the first 2 albums back to back
Oh,
just because that's what my time constraints were like
yeah.
this week with work. So I had to just keep getting through. Oh, and if you were really concerned that the first out if you were like, I kind of like Rascal Flatts after the first album, but they feel like a little too niche for me. I wish that every song was like a pop ballad written by 5 people. Then you're going to love Feels Like Today because like we got to the point on this record where I was like, all right, 2.5 minutes and you're just getting to repeating the chorus at the end. I'm done. Fast forward, next. Okay. All right. Oh, you're doing the same exact. Okay. You're doing the same thing again. Okay. We got through 2.5 minutes. Next. Um, it was not good. There is a song at the end where if you're like, hey, but what if once in a while their songs try to deal with something substantive? So the last track on this on this album is called Skin, Sarah Beth in parentheses. And it is about like the struggles of a girl in high school who has cancer and has lost all her hair. And if you're like, well, the one redeeming quality of this album is that they have this one really deep and meaningful song, I would just like to let you know that no one in the band had anything to do with writing
No.
it. So no, no, just like this is Backstreet Boys for country. That's just what they are.
Okay. So here's the thing. I'm going to come in as well. I'm shocked you didn't know one song on this album because it's I know, like I said, I know 3 songs by Rascal Flatts. The first one that I ever heard is Bless the Broken Road. Because I've heard that song everywhere growing up. And I'm surprised you hadn't heard of it.
I have heard My Wish.
Okay. Interesting.
And that is all.
That's the one you were saying about Rascal Flatts?
Yeah, I mean, because that one's super famous because of the like Make-A-Wish Foundation and stuff. I don't, and because it's like very commonly used for like first dance songs and everything. Like I've never heard another Rascal Flatts song other than My Wish. I also like am not exposed to popular media.
Nick, I have to call bullshit here for the only reason that you're not telling me you haven't heard the song Life is a Highway. Because we sang that song.
Oh, well, okay, well, that's Tom
Yeah,
Cochrane.
I know, I understand, but Rascal Flatts did a very popular cover of it for Cars.
Fair point, which I've never seen that movie.
You're wrong, it's the best Pixar movie.
Okay. But still, like, when you say that, I don't even think of their, like, now that you've brought it up, I'm like, yeah, you're right. They did have a big hit with that cover, but I don't think of it as their song. Or if I hear that song, I do not think of them.
Which maybe it's for the best. But yeah, there's that. I mean, I would say in order of popularity, Life is a Highway, number 1. Second, I would give to My Wish for the Make-A-Wish Foundation stuff. Third is a song that is called What Hurts the Most, which is another really popular Rascal Flatts song. And then fourth, I would give Bless the Broken Road.
They all sound like they could be titles of the songs written by the
band. Yeah, they all sound like this. Yeah, listen, we're not going to get into the songs that aren't part of what we covered. Just mentioning songs that you might have heard that you may not know were Rascal Flatts.
Sure. Okay, fair.
Getting into this album, my big issue with this band and with this album in particular is just that the songs, you know, they're written by a bunch of writers, but like that wouldn't matter if I felt like the songs were telling a story still. Even if it wasn't a good story or like a disjointed story, I just don't feel like they're even trying to tell a story for 90% of these songs. The only songs that I feel like they're even attempting to tell a story on here is 3 of them. Bless the Broken Road does in fact have a character going on some type of journey throughout the song.
Okay.
It's at least describing events to me. It's not just like generic love ballad.
Sure.
It's mostly generic love ballad, but with some story involved. The second one, and this is actually my favorite song on the album for the fact that it actually gave me something to think about during the song, was the song Holes.
Okay.
And
dig it up.
No, a much better song. Like a much better song than this one. But what this song does is it's literally talking about basically the holes somebody left in like the lead character's heart, but also referring to like physical holes that like he left in like the walls during fights with the woman who then broke his heart and shit. And it's like, it's a very imperfect character in the song. But for the first time while listening to Rascal Flatts, there was a character in the song who was an imperfect person who like was kind of recognizing it. And I was blown away. I mean, of course they did not write any of the song.
No,
I want to be clear.
No.
But it was the first time where I was like, wait. And then of course, Skin, Sarah Beth. Although here's my note for that.
Go ahead.
It's a brutally sad song. It really truly is for most of the way through. Obviously, you're dealing with
you so far.
Yeah, you're dealing with a young person who's dealing with a horrible disease. But just to play devil's advocate here, other than the fact that they weren't involved in any
In
of
the
the
writing
writing
of
of the song,
Like, this isn't going to earn them any points.
no. But I felt like it was a little on the nose lyrically.
Sure. Oh, sure, totally.
Like I just felt like you were kind of just reading me an article via song.
I totally get what you mean about that. I
Yeah.
brought it up specifically because it was the only thing that I noticed that it was like something that was about something.
Oh, and it was. and it was. And I'm not trying to nitpick the message, especially if this is a real story. Whoever who the people who wrote this song, if this is based on any type of real story, like you it's good that it's out there. But I truly think that like there maybe was a slightly more poetic way to say it than just being like Sarah Beth is scared because she hasn't been well and the bruise won't go away. Like there's something not right with her red cells and her white blood cells. Like it's literally just like I'm reading an article about a girl who got cancer.
Sure. It was done in a poetic fashion.
Yeah. So, you know, a strong message in a song, but maybe not quite the right phrasing, we'll say.
I'm with you.
And then we'll go on to Back to Us. And now here's the thing. I'll start with the good again. The vocals are still incredibly strong. So now we're talking 20 or 17 years deep, and the vocals are just as strong, if not stronger. So big check mark in that category. Still using harmonies throughout, still mostly analog for at least when I wrote this note. And we'll get to that, but still mostly analog. I didn't hear a ton of over processing or computerized sounds at this point in the album. Very hilariously, about 2 songs after I wrote that note, I started hearing it, and it was for the rest of the album, and went, "Oh, I'm going to keep it because I'm going to mention that."
Sure.
You know, you had half of a good effort to not jump shark, and it's hard to jump shark when you started off the shark. But the rest of it, I mean, it's fine at absolute best, and it goes down from there. I think it's incredibly safe. I don't
That's
think
what this band's middle name is.
Yeah. I don't think there's any variance here in any of their albums that we listened to. And especially not on this album. I would challenge you to definitively tell me which song's which, just from hearing like a 10-second snippet.
Exactly.
I really don't think you could. The general notes that I have on this one, it's like mixed results for modernization.
Okay.
Because they did eventually get a little computery at times. And the song, the big example on how not to modernize if you are like an older band who's trying to like get with the times.
Yeah.
Really, really important like thing to know. And it's the song "Hoping You Were Looking."
Okay.
That is that should be in a textbook. That clip should be like, I mean, it should be required listening if you are trying to not get with the times. And if you're trying to figure out how not to do that song, because it just completely comes out of left field and has no personality other than like, we're going to do that thing where we're like, oh, like we're like, no, come on.
Yeah. Okay. I've got my updated scores here. So for this album, the good thing is they maintained that there are 4 tracks where members of the band have partial writing credits. The bad news is that it's 2 less songs than the last album, and it's 3 more writers overall. So 10 songs, 23 writers, and 4 tracks that have partial credits to the band. And this was the album where I realized pretty much for the most part, what you could do is you could take a bunch of little like ping pong balls and write down the name of every song in the Rascal Flatts discography and put them in like one of those bingo things, and then just completely reshuffle every single album that they ever put out at total random, and no one would ever know.
I don't disagree with you. I don't.
Like, And just not to be harping on all the negatives, like it's obviously well performed. It's like perfectly polished in the studio, but like the sound that is louder than anything else is that this is not authentic sound.
No.
The like, hey, we are guys writing them, having people write the most average possible songs for us so that we can try to bring in the widest possible audience. We don't feel anything, we don't have any message, we are not driven artistically to do this, but it's fun to sing songs, isn't it?
I think I can
And it
shed a little
is.
light. I think I can shed a little light on this band for you, Nick, with my notes.
Go ahead. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd like to hear all of them
So we'll
now.
start with the unique thing. And I think the unique thing about this band is just kind of what went into getting this to be a band, because it's super weird and random.
Okay.
So literally, Gary LaVox and Jay DeMarcus, they are related. They're second cousins.
Okay.
And they're, you know, they were raised in Columbus, Ohio. DeMarcus ended up moving to Nashville and called Gary LaVox and convinced him to come down and provide harmonies on a Michael English album called Gospel, because he was producing the album. They
Okay.
engineered the album together, and then the two of them became Michael English's backup band and vocalists.
Sure, sure, sure.
So cool. Good for them. At the same time, Jay DeMarcus became the band leader of Chelly Wright's band,
Sure.
where
Everyone
they met
remembers that.
Joe Don Rooney, who ends up joining
Okay.
Rascal Flatts. And they were just kind of working. They were working at a Printer's Alley nightclub called Fiddle and Steel Guitar Bar.
I like that. I like the name of it.
Yeah. And the part-time guitarist just couldn't make it. And so Jay DeMarcus asked Joe Don Rooney to fill in.
Okay.
And like they just covered a song called The Church on Cumberland Road by a band called Shenandoah.
Okay.
And like that's how the band formed. So like very weird. And like after that, it's just so strange because like 90% of the time that you hear about bands forming,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we met and formed and like played shit gigs in high school or like in our early 20s,
Mhm.
and then kind of like built traction and went that way. That's like the general rule. Or like maybe you get discovered, but you're a
Okay.
band first.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I can count on, I think out of groups that we've done, the Monkees and One Direction both pop into my head as groups that were put together as groups,
Yeah.
but they were both put together on television shows as groups. This is a band who just like the guitarist called out, and so they filled in with this dude, and they just vibed so hard, and people listening were like, "You guys are so good. We're gonna get you in front of record producers."
Right.
And that's how Rascal Flatts formed. So I thought that was unique. The highlight is definitely the first chunk of their career. I went with 2000 to 2010.
Okay.
I know it's a big jump, a big
Great.
time
Hell of a
stretch.
decade.
Yeah, but I know it's a big time crunch to be like a highlight. But, and this is where I think you're really going to get it, Nick. During that 10-year stretch, they put out 6 albums for Lyric Street Records, which, if you don't know, is owned by Disney. If that doesn't explain a lot about this band and playing
Everything.
it safe and just
Everything.
and why they were also mega successful, because we will have to talk about just how ridiculously successful they were. But from 2000 to 2010, they put out 6 studio albums, all of which certified platinum or higher in America.
Right.
So definitely a highlight. The low light, I do have a couple. The first low light is in 2020. They announced in January of 2020. So right around.
Yeah, not quite, but yeah.
They announced they'd be disbanding following a farewell tour, which
Darn.
then immediately got postponed due to COVID. And then they reconfirmed that they were disbanded in 2021. October of 2021, they
Okay.
officially disbanded. And then just a couple years later, in 2024,
We didn't mean it.
announced that they were doing a reunion tour and then just got back together.
All right.
So Low Light is like the disbandment, and then like they were trying to have like a big 20-year farewell tour that got immediately canceled because of COVID. And then the other Low Light is Joe Don Rooney was actually arrested for a DUI after crashing into a tree.
Hate to see it.
And he pled guilty, was sentenced to 1 year in jail, but it was suspended. All but 2 days were suspended sentence, and he had his driver's license revoked.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, so a couple low lights.
Yeah. I mean, you can't face too many consequences if you're wealthy or famous, but like at least he lost his license.
Yes,
Because
that
here's
is
the thing about drunk driving. Fuck you if you do that.
could not agree more.
Like,
Could not
you're
agree more.
Jerry Lee
Especially-
Lewis to us if you are getting behind
Here's
the
the
wheel
thing.
drunk.
Here's the thing, truly, like just a quick tangent about drunk driving.
mhm.
You're a fucking idiot.
Totally.
You're a fucking idiot. And especially nowadays, because taxis, Uber, Lyft, if you're not, even if you don't have a friend to call or like a family member to call, there
Mhm.
are so many avenues, even if you don't want to take public transport, which is available to you.
Mhm.
I mean,
Depending on
seriously,
where
I
you
just
live,
named
but
the
yeah.
big three: Lyft, Uber, or a taxi.
Yeah.
Get a fucking car. And now top that off with the fact that this dude is fucking rich. Just have a driver, dude, which you do now because you get lost
Yeah,
your
he
fucking
has to.
license.
Mhm.
Either way, don't drink and drive.
Yeah, agreed.
No joke. Do not drink and drive. Anyway,
Yeah, it's a fucked up thing to do.
it is. All right, talking about some of the nicest things they've done.
Oh, good.
This group
Change
has contributed to many different charitable organizations. So they've done like little PSAs for things called like Little Kids Rock, which I had to reread because I thought it said Little Kid Rock for a second. And I was like,
Oh,
whoa.
not good.
But it's to support music education, which is a huge thing and is way underappreciated and underfunded in public schools, as we both know. They obviously, we've talked about their supporting the Make-A-Wish Foundation, both in song and in foundations and charity events. We could go on and on. Needless to say, their philanthropy is there and is good
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
I was looking for meanest things, and listen, I think this is a shitty thing.
All right.
But I know that not everybody does. But the first time Rascal Flatts performed together as a band in nearly 5 years was at Donald Trump's second inauguration.
Oh, yeah. Fuck them for that.
Yeah. So
Second,
the second one.
ain't no excuse for that.
Couldn't
You're a
agree
Nazi.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, get fucked.
Yeah. So I wanted to wait to say that till the very end, so it wasn't like the only thing that we
Yeah,
talked about with this band.
I might get past the first one. Ain't no getting past the second one.
No.
So at the second one, you're too far gone.
Yeah. Well, listen, I completely agree, which is
Never
why I
knew
no
it.
longer respect Carrie Underwood either. So
Yeah. Nope.
yeah,
definitely not.
it's rare to have an artist lose the amount of respect as quickly as Carrie Underwood did, because I
Sure.
really respected her because she came out of American Idol where not a lot of people come out on top.
That's true.
It's that contract for a winner is very, very constrictive, and she,
Yeah.
Her and Kelly Clarkson are really the only two that won that still,
And then had a level of success on their own.
yeah. And then she went and did that. So
Yep.
you're dead to me.
Absolutely.
Now talking about the 6 degrees.
Yes.
I did have two. One I had to put in, and I'm so glad I did just because of everything we've talked about. In this year, in June of 2025, they're going to be releasing an album called Rascal Flatts Duets: Life is a Highway Refueled.
Okay.
So
Can't wait to miss that one.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it's Nick, I just want to give you some of the artists here that are going to be contributing duets.
Very excited.
The Jonas Brothers,
Yikes.
Jason Aldean,
Okay.
Blake Shelton.
Nope.
But I'm really sad. I just saw Kelly Clarkson's going to be on this.
Oh, sorry.
But maybe listen, maybe she's just going to be on it for like being on it. And
Who
she's
is?
singing "I'm Moving On," which is I want to hear if it's better when she is on it. Maybe she'll
Fair
add
enough.
heart.
Yeah, I
Uh,
won't listen to that album under any circumstances.
Oh, no, me neither. I'll listen to that one song.
Sure,
That's it.
I understand.
Only out of curiosity.
Yeah,
But
no, I
the
get it.
2 artists that I wanted to highlight here is 6 Degrees is one, Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm.
Oh yeah, we
She is
love them.
contributing. She's singing on "Life Is a Highway" with them.
Okay, great.
And contributing on "What Hurts the Most" is the Backstreet Boys,
Which makes perfect sense.
which makes
because they are
perfect
the
sense.
same band.
And I knew that you would say that, and so I just had to put it in there. The other quick little thing was their first song that we talked about, "Bless the Broken Road," which I mentioned was a big hit for them,
Mhm.
was originally recorded by its co-writer Marcus Humman, and has also been recorded by other artists who I'm not going to name all of them, but the one that I'm going to name is the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
Hey, okay, I'll take that.
And that is what I've got for Rascal Flatts.
Thank goodness it's over. Let's move on to Chucky D.
Chucky D. Well, that's what his name is now.
Obviously.
I mean, unfortunately for him.
Well, he doesn't care. He's dead.
It's true. All right. Chucky D. Yeah, I was like, I was reading enough about them before I got to that inauguration bit
Yeah.
where I was like, like
Uh,
they like really like a lot. They were like singing a lot of gospel and Christian music
Okay.
and like doing all that stuff and like Gary LeVox met his wife like backstage at like a gospel event.
okay.
And I'm like, all right, I
And no
feel like
one loves the gospel more
listen,
than Donald John Trump.
did I tell you Sydney was it we were talking and I was wearing this hat and she's like, I think we need to get you a Blue Phillies hat. And I was like, that's fine.
It's a great point.
I was like,
because
I love blue, so I'll wear it.
there is danger in wearing any red hat.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
I will make sure before I make personal judgments about what's written on the red hat.
Yeah.
But it does, like, alarms start going off when I glance red upon someone's head.
Well, my whole thing is you see this and then you see this and you're like, and then you got to make sure it's just the
Sure.
Phillies P, y'all.
Yeah.
Have a 30-second conversation with me and I think you'll get where I stand
for
pretty
sure.
well.
Like, if you were a Filipino woman in a Phillies hat, I wouldn't have the same concerns right away.
Yeah, which is true. Oh man, I certainly but yeah, I thought you'd be interested in some of that. Yeah, I mean, a country group who worked with Disney records.
Yeah.
It makes sense that
Sound like
everything
a bunch
is
of
very in the
bootlickers to
middle.
me.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah. I can be ready in 3, 2, 1.
All right. Charlie Daniels. Charles Edward Daniels was an American singer, musician, and songwriter. He was active from 1958 until he passed away in 2020. We covered 3 albums. We started with my favorite, and thank God that they both did it, the eponymous debut, Charlie Daniels, which came out in 1971. We followed that up with Million Mile Reflections, which came out in 1979, and that is a Charlie Daniels band album.
Correct.
The only one we covered.
Right.
But everywhere, including Charlie Daniels himself, kind of views it all as one thing.
Yeah.
So we did the right thing here. And then we wrapped things up with Nighthawk from 2016.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I got.
My turn
Nick.
to talk.
Yeah.
So Charlie Daniels, the year is 1971. And I'm thinking to myself, I actually know almost nothing about this guy or this band, with the exception of The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Yes.
So I had to like triple check that it was him singing on these songs because it was not at all what I expected in terms of his voice. I know you have more to say about that, so I'm not gonna like be specific, but he almost has like kind of that shouting rock tone at times that it works for him. He does it well on this album. But it wasn't what I was thinking because he almost like used that Sprechka song where he like speaks things on The Devil Went Down to Georgia. So hearing him singing was interesting. And like this album was pretty good right away. I did, I did not necessarily know that I was gonna like it, but like it had some good rock and blues rock, southern rock songs on it. Like it was played very well. All the musicians on this record did a really nice job. And I think Stephen Thomas Erlewine from All Music, who does all the most famous music critics that we discuss, meant that this is like a little bit more groundbreaking at the time. Like he's not necessarily the first. I wouldn't say that this is the first album that combines like blues and country and rock and roll and all that stuff. Um, but especially with how far it leans into country, it's definitely a little different. Um, he definitely like sets himself like a clear um, place as an artist in the musical pantheon at the time. Um, and there's some like weird and interesting songs on here, like "The Pope and the Dope." I kept going through the lyrics and trying to figure like, should I? How much does he mean any of this stuff? Should I be offended at any of the things that he's going to say, or like is he just like some like old man ranting at the bar with a lot of his lyrics? And I get the feeling, and the more I researched about him, the more I feel like, oh yeah, Charlie Daniels is just like that old guy at the bar who has a lot of opinions about everything, and none of them are necessarily cohesive or make sense in any way. So just like kind of let him ramble so he doesn't get all
Yeah.
rammy. So that comes through in some of his lyrics, but it does also make his lyrics kind of unique, and it makes his songs sound and feel the opposite of Rascal Flatts. In that I felt like this is a guy whose art is super authentic to him.
It is truly the exact opposite. Now, here's
Yeah.
the thing. I am much more mixed on this first album, and it's really not Charlie Daniels' fault. I think structurally the songs are good. I think the influence of rock in this, so it's much more southern rock and country rock than it is just pure country, or thank God
It
there's
feels like
no pop
closer
involved.
to the Almonds.
Yeah, great comp.
Like it feels closer to something the Allman Brothers might do.
Here's my problem. First album, young Charlie Daniels sounds like Adam Sandler. And it's not just the tone of his voice, which sounds like Adam Sandler.
Oh man.
It's the pronunciation of words that sounds like when Adam Sandler is doing that, like that voice.
God, I hate
But
that voice. I
Nick,
hate that
listen to
voice.
some of these songs again, especially
Okay.
especially the first side. That's where it's really strong. It
Okay.
is uncomfortably similar, and I couldn't focus on anything else when I was listening to it, which
Sure.
is not fair to Charlie Daniels because in 1971 when he released this, Adam Sandler wasn't doing that shit yet. So
No,
like
definitely not.
for
He
all
was
we
probably
know,
a
Adam
baby.
Sandler developed that voice based on Charlie Daniels. But
He could've.
unfortunately, one of them is much more popular in terms of the specific voice. And
Yeah, I'd have to
I
agree with
can't
you.
unhear it. And now I think when you go back and listen, you will not be able to unhear that as well.
Okay.
So that's, I mean, really, the rest of it's a good debut
Okay.
album, but it is like if Adam Sandler released a country album. And I
Yeah.
do think that the lack of cohesion in the lyrics, like, adds to that a little bit. Like, it really just feels like a comedy album to me. And
Sure.
it's like, I know it's not supposed to be, but it really feels like it. All right.
Okay.
So moving on to Million Mile Reflections. So we have upgraded here from Charlie Daniels to the Charlie Daniels Band. And I
Yes.
do mean upgraded because I think every
Yeah.
specific aspect of the music that we enjoyed from the first album is ticked up a notch here. You can tell this
Oh
is a
yeah.
group that has worked together multiple times. This is the 7th released Charlie Daniels Band album, so the cohesion is there.
Yeah, and can I interject
Yeah.
something real quick while you're making sure it may help you? So I sort of made that almonds comp as because I was it's hard to figure out like which country rock artists he sounds the most like. By the time that it's playing with the band, he does actually have there are 2 guitarists and 2 drummers in the group, which the only other band I can think of that consistently plays with 2 drummers and 2 guitarists is the Allman
Yeah.
Brothers. So,
Honestly, great point. And uh I just think instrumentally they're just up a level here. And I waited because it was present on the first album, but I waited obviously for Devil Went Down to Georgia to talk about the thing that Charlie Daniels is probably most well known for, and that's his fiddle playing.
mhm,
He did play the fiddle on the first album on a couple of the songs. It was not nearly as prominently featured as it is in Devil Went Down to Georgia, where he
sure,
just takes an instrument up a notch and plays the hell out of that
totally.
fiddle. But I think all the way through this is a strong album. You're getting just the complete opposite of what we listened to with Rascal Flatts. Again, you're getting authenticity, you're getting less of an emphasis on vocals, but still better. The vocals here are better. He's
Mhm.
singing on more of the song, like he's singing, he doesn't sound like Adam Sandler anymore. Those 8 years
No,
have unsandlered his voice. I don't know what it
sure.
was. But I think just like there is a story in all of these songs. And it's very interesting to me, the difference between these 2 artists, because I am somebody who always focuses on vocals because I'm a vocalist,
Mhm.
and so I
Sure,
focus
sure.
on the vocals, and I don't think anybody can tell you that Charlie Daniels is a better pure singer than Gary LeVox,
Sure.
but everything else is significantly preferred here.
Way
Just
better, yeah.
to the point where it's, like, almost a moot point. Um,
Yeah.
really strong stuff all the way through. I enjoyed it pretty much all the way through. And it was so interesting to me that Devil Went Down to Georgia became the hit it was because it is so different from the other songs on this album, and I find that
Mhm,
very interesting. Like,
mhm.
it just sets him apart.
Yeah. Right, and I think that speaks to the range on this record. Like, this album is all over the place, but cohesively all over the place in a way that is perfect. So, I would consider this album, like, progressive country. Like, this sounds like prog country to me. It sounds like they have brought in influences from rock and blues and jazz, and they are playing some, like, way more complex and interesting arrangements. The musicianship, as you mentioned, is really strong on this record. I could hear like in their first tune, they get a little bit heavier. I could almost like it sounds to me like they started as a country band, but they liked rock and roll music. And then they started hearing like some of that first wave of heavy metal, like your Deep Purples. And then throughout the 70s, they're hearing groups that like bring like a little bit more soulfulness or funkiness to the country or southern rock sound, like the Atlanta Rhythm section. And they're like, we can do all of this. We can bring in, everything from across the musical spectrum, make it a part of our album, and like totally own it. And I was really shocked by not necessarily the performances because I knew the musicians were going to be really good, but by the range of songwriting that was present on this album, by how good the individual songs really were.
Yeah.
Um, so, so this was a big thumbs up album for me. And then we get to Nighthawk, and a lot of time has passed because now it's 2016. So what's that? Almost 40 years, like 37 years since the last one that we covered, or something like that.
Yep.
And the first thing I had to think, and I assume you felt, I was like, there is no way he still sounds that good as a
Yeah.
vocalist. I was like, what? You could have told me he was in like his 50s when he recorded this album. I've been
Yeah.
like, yeah. but no, he's in his like mid 70s. Absolutely wild how well his voice held up. And this is again like a totally different album from the first two that we listened to. He has now gone like fully back into that like acoustic outlaw country tradition that he was kind of doing his thing alongside of in the 60s and 70s as a professional musician. And he has some original compositions on here, and he also has a handful of covers of like old outlaw country songs. And I gotta say, he nailed them. Like, third album, third completely different approach. Third time, I was like, yeah, I really like Charlie Daniels' albums like more than I was anticipating. I think he did a really great job. Basically, he was like anything that could be anywhere connected to the idea of like country or southern rock music. He dipped his toes into all of it, and I think he did well every time.
Yeah, listen, I agree with what you're saying for the most part. Now, here's what I'll say. I completely agree with you that the most surprising part was how well his voice held up. I mean, this is a man who was 83 when he passed away in 2020. So we're talking he was like 78,
79.
79 recording and releasing
Right.
these. Holy shit. Good job. I mean, you sound
Yeah.
great. I will
Wild.
say these songs are a bit more subdued than the second album.
Oh, yeah, it's a
Totally different style, much more like quiet, reflective, with a little bit of like cheeky. Like the first song, Big Balls and Countdown, is cheeky.
Mhm. Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It's probably not going to be, if I re-listen to Charlie Daniels, it's probably not going to be on my list. But I respect it for what it is, which is a Twilight album from,
Yeah.
you know, an older artist.
I agree. Definitely listen to Million Mile Reflect, but I enjoyed my one time listening to Nighthawk.
Yes, and I feel the same way. And I just want to call it out in comparison to like the countless other artists we've done where it's like we had popular hits in the 70s and then released an album in the 20 teens, and like 98% of them are awful and or just completely soulless
Sad.
at best, and at worst like bordering on like creepy grandpa predatory.
Sure.
So avoided both of those fires pretty easily, and I appreciate him for that.
Yeah. Well, is that your take? So it's time to get to some facts here.
Yeah, let's hear some facts.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start us off with the unique thing, which is that did you know, much like I guess Gary LeVox's disappointment, that Charlie Daniels is not supposed to be his real name.
Really?
Yeah. So we've had this happen a few times, so it's not like super unique, but every other time it's been a stage name.
Yeah.
Or like we've had artists where there was a spelling misprint on an album, and then they kind of went with that, and that became their stage name with like one letter changed. Charlie Daniels got his name wrong right from his birth certificate, where it was he was born to his parents whose last name was Daniel. And then
okay.
So he was born Charlie Daniel. He was named Charlie Daniel. And they got it wrong on the birth certificate, and they wrote Daniels. And then he just went with that for the rest of his life. His family was the Daniel family, but he was Charlie Daniels.
Wow. Oh, I mean, okay.
So that
is pretty unique.
Yeah, they just like couldn't get it right from the start. There was no
That's
way
like
to get another birth certificate and just write it down the correct way.
That's like Oprah.
Yeah, is that like Oprah? I didn't know.
Oh, yeah. So the story of Oprah is there's a biblical character named Orpah.
Oh.
And she was supposed to be named after Orpah, but they wrote it as Oprah.
Whoopsie daisies.
Yeah.
Worked out.
Yeah.
Okay. And then for 6 degrees, I'm going to mention that Chucky he did a ton of studio work before starting to release his own albums, because you might have noticed his first album came out in 1971. And if you were listening to Patrick's introduction closely, you would know he's been active since 1958 as a musician. So he was playing on backing parts on a lot of albums. and he is the main guitarist on the album Bucos of Blues by Ringo Starr.
Interesting. Okay. We're
So
there.
you
We're
go.
there.
And then the highlight of his career, I'm going to say there's two things. So 2016, he was entered into the Country Hall of Fame. And in 2009, he was granted membership into the Grand Ole Opry. So, like, you have to be a pretty prestigious country artist to be admitted as a member. As far as the people that we've covered so far, Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson, Chet Atkins, Hank Williams before his drunk ass ruined it and got kicked out. But like, we're talking about that level of artist who becomes a member of the Grand Ole Opry. So I think as someone who had been around country music his whole life, um, you know, gaining membership there would count as a career highlight. As for a low light, I stuck with the country theme, a good old boy theme, because he was in a major accident in 1980 that caused him to not be able to
I
play or
know
do
about
anything for
this.
a while. Okay, you know it. He broke 3 bones in his arm and 2 of his fingers, and it was using an auger to dig fence post holes that he'd got this injury. So he was
Yep.
just out there putting up fences on his ranch or whatever. And managed to destroy his arm. Luckily, he was able to play again after that, because 3 broken bones and 2 broken fingers sounds very serious. So good for him for making it back. And then we're gonna get to meanest, because this is all I got left. It's very similar to some of the things that you had on yours.
I was like, it has to be. I know. I
So,
mean, it
like,
has to be.
he claimed that he wasn't, and this goes hand in hand with all the lyrics and everything. Like, he's like, I'm not a political guy. I just have common sense. And that was kind of how he phrased everything. So, like, I genuinely don't. I think he really believed that he wasn't political at all, and that he just like was a common sense, good old boy guy at the bar who knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so weird. 90% of the time when people tell me that, they then spout like the most conservative views I've ever
Absolutely.
heard. I always find that so funny. It's like, I'm not
Yeah.
really political, but like also fuck the gays. Like that's
Yeah.
like wait.
Right.
Wait.
Consensually, I hope.
Jesus.
And let little Richard watch if you're gonna do that. Um,
Oh man.
but the weirdest thing about this is he also performed at a president's inauguration. He performed at the inauguration of arguably the least conservative president of like the last 50 years, Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. And Jimmy Carter's a Georgia boy. He owned a
Yeah.
peanut farm before he was president. So Charlie Daniels was happy to perform there, and because Carter was a fan of his music. So he did that. But then, like, as the years went on, pretty much everything he would say over the last 20, 30 years of his life was like he was a member of the NRA. He did a bunch of like public commercials and PR for them, which if you like guns, fine. But the NRA is like obviously a criminal organization.
Yeah.
So a little different. He like his most vocal issues that he has supported have been pro the invasion of Iraq in 2003. I wonder if he had a chance to regret that before he died. And pro Trump's bombing of Syria in 2017.
Okay.
So it seems
remember, I was going to say, so I remember when Charlie Daniels died.
Okay.
And there was a bunch of articles and stuff about it. I mean, he was a pretty famous guy.
Sure, yeah.
And I remember reading one that said that. I remember one where he supported the bombing in Syria, about how we wouldn't be like toothless tigers.
Yeah.
In the like viewed as toothless tigers in the world anymore, something like that. I remember that, and I was like, "What? What are we talking about?" He also had. I remember him having like pretty antiquated views of the taking down of the Confederate statues
Correct.
when that
Yes.
happened.
That was the last thing I was going to mention.
Yeah.
But that makes the Carter thing so bizarre to me
Mhm.
because he is like the only president, maybe ever, at least in the last 100 years plus, who during his term as president, the United States military did not like fire a bullet or drop a missile. He's like the only one. He's
Yeah.
like the only one, and Charlie Daniels is like, my politics are this: kill Arab people, kill them now, kill them good, and kill them fast.
Well, I am
So I don't
clipping that, Nick.
understand.
I need you to know that I'm clipping what you with that.
Don't. I was quoting Charlie Daniels.
Oh,
I don't agree
understand.
with that.
I'm playing that
I'm
at our
way
next
more
gig.
Great.
Guys, look what Nick said.
I don't know. I just like squaring that circle between him performing at the inauguration of Carter, who is like the only nonviolent president in US history, and also having all of his politics being just like, we need to go to war and bomb people all the time. These are the only things that I like. So
Yeah.
like, he rarely speaks out about specific issues other than like, I like guns and I like killing people. So go figure. Let's just grade them.
Yeah, let's grade them.
Okay. So we'll start with Rascal Flatts. They sold a lot of albums, man.
Yo, they certainly did. And I think, very seriously, whether or not you have heard the songs that I mentioned, they are everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the Make-A-Wish song, but there is also What Hurts the Most was a huge song in the early to mid 2000s.
Yeah, I think like you mentioned specifically, there was like a decade during which they were the most popular country pop band in the world.
Yeah, so I think that's points.
Definitely. I mean, they certainly don't get any points for like impacting musical history with like their compositions or their style or their influence because
no.
but they get all the popularity points of.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean the question is
up to how much you think that's worth.
I think we're dealing with an above average score.
Sure,
here.
I don't disagree with that.
I think realistically, you're probably looking at like maybe like a 5.6, 5.7.
I'm fine with that.
I think that's a good score because it's above average, but I think their big sustained success is going to come from like their cover of Life is a Highway, their cover of What Hurts the Most. Like that's what I think.
I'll give them a 5.7. I know things are going to get worse for them later on.
Yeah.
Charlie Daniels, most famous for one song, but like a name in the zeitgeist for sure because of it, and also definitively had a lot of success throughout his career. So like he had that one album that went triple platinum, but 3 other albums went platinum and 3 more on top of that went gold, kind of scattered throughout his career too.
Yeah.
So he may not have been like
mostly in the 70s and 80s, but still.
Right. Yeah, but I mean that's like 2 decades to have a bunch of records scattered over. So and obviously I would say he is more influential musically.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree. Now, the question is just what we're trying to give score wise here. Are you thinking of a number yet?
I mean, I feel like his name recognition, aside from the song, also like it's just a name that you hear Charlie Daniels and the fiddle. You know what I mean? Like he's one of those artists who is like almost synonymous with one of his instruments in a way that like Ian Anderson is for the flute, or like even though there are a lot of people for guitar when like Jimi Hendrix to guitar.
Yeah.
So I think they're definitely. I think they've got to be right around the average at least.
I I think, yeah, I would say Charlie Daniels is even a little above average.
Sure, yeah, but with like one big hit that everyone knows, I think that's like doesn't speak to what the Charlie Daniels band is or what Charlie Daniels is.
No,
So I would
it,
be
it
happy to
certainly
go a
doesn't.
little over 5.
Okay, so give me a number, man. Give me a
How about
number, and
5-2?
I'll agree with you.
5-2?
Okay,
Yeah,
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 5-2 works.
very good. All right, breadth of work. Rascal Flatts, 10 albums. They start with a 5.5. They've got plenty of sales,
I
so
mean,
they're gonna be earning some
literally
points there.
so many sales. Just to rattle a couple of them off for the people. Their first album went double platinum. Their second album went triple platinum. Their third album, Feels Like Today, went 5 times platinum. Their follow up to that went 4 times, then 2
Sure.
times, then a platinum, then another platinum. Like literally, their first 7 albums
Yeah.
all went platinum.
So,
So,
yeah,
and
that's
then their eighth one went gold, and then that's it.
do you know if it's over 50?
It is not over 50 million,
Okay.
but
So, I think they do get at least close to the point 5 here, if not the whole thing.
I mean, it has to be. I think it has to be.
Yeah, I'll give them
Uh,
the point 5.
yeah.
Now, here is the part where they just lose it all back because,
Yeah, I'm
look,
taking away point 0.4.
yeah, I'm with you.
And really, here's the thing. It has nothing to do with me not liking them as people, although I
No,
don't like them as people.
correct.
And it has everything to do with they were barely contributing writing to these songs, and their biggest hit is a cover.
Yep.
Second biggest hit is a cover. Their third biggest hit is a cover. So what the fuck? You got great singers,
Sure.
but you're not. It's not even like these songs are written for them. It's they're pulling a bunch of covers or songs that are just like kind of milling around. Which I know there's a part of the music scene
Mhm.
that is like songwriters and ghostwriters write these popular songs that then they farm out to a bunch of talented singers,
Mhm.
and one of them catches and it's a hit.
Sure, sure.
And you don't pay attention to the fact that there's 4 other versions of that song that all got released within 2 or 3 years of each other.
Mhm.
But that happened with 2 of their songs, and their
Sure.
third song is Life is a Highway, which was a very popular song before they touched it.
Yeah.
So, that's why
Alright.
they're losing those points, and then the fact
I
that
love it.
all of their songs lack heart and substance.
Totally, totally. I'm doing the same exact thing. I'm with you. Charlie Daniels starts with a 6.4 because he's released 30 albums in his
Yeah.
life. And definitely adding there. I couldn't find figures on total sales, but like I said, there's 1 triple platinum, there's 3 more platinums, there's 3 more golds. If you look into like his total sales figures, he's got at least 6 million more sold from like greatest hits albums and everything like that. So when we calculate an artist's total album sales, those things do get included for other artists. So
Yeah.
he definitely is like probably at least a point 3, point 4 here easily.
So I think we give him the point 0.3 just because, like, he doesn't have the same number of certifications as Rascal Flatts, so I wanna just be clear in our comparison that, like,
Yeah,
so we'll give him a point 0.3.
I like it. I will also give him a point 3 for quality. 3 very good albums. I think like the second one was clearly like excellent, and the other 2 were both good, and I liked them.
Yeah, and I'm also gonna give a point 0.3, removing the Sandler of the first album.
Fair.
I think it was a good album, and I think all 3 were good albums.
Yes.
So the second one, of course, was the best, and
Yeah.
I'm interested to listen to more Charlie Daniels Band.
Definitely. Definitely. I will be doing that.
Yeah.
Probably, no spoilers. Probably going to hear the Charlie Daniels Band a second time and Best of the Rest based on where
There's
where
a
we're at.
chance.
So,
Probably
I think
won't
it's
listen to any more Rascal Flatts on that one, so
no. Coming along to instrumental talent. I mean, I know that Rascal Flatts are better. You got better vocalists there.
Yeah.
It's clearly the Charlie Daniels Band that are way better instrumentalists everywhere else by a lot.
Yes. I completely agree with you. I just purely just to talk about it one more time.
Mhm.
Gary LaVox and Jay DeMarcus, and like they're both very talented singers. Gary LaVox is an incredible singer, an incredible tenor range. like effortless high notes and just a clear sound. Not taking any of that away from him.
No.
I would love to hear him do stuff that had like any soul or substance to it,
Mhm.
because that I'm sure it would be great.
Yep.
Would love to hear him do like, some theatrical songs with that like pure tenor sound, because as a tenor myself, there's about 6 million of those songs ready to be sung by talented tenors. So have at it.
Sure. Now, there's one thing that we
However,
need to add to this discussion,
yeah,
which is like the boy band nature of Rascal Flatts also affects how these albums were done. So, for instance, their very first record, the three guys all just contribute either lead or backing vocals, and Jay DeMarcus played the bass on one of them. And like if you go through album to album, what you'll find is it seems like these guys like weren't playing well enough to cut it to be their own instrumentalists actually on the record.
yeah,
And then like as each record went on, like, oh, and then they did the guitar part on 2 songs. And then eventually they just start getting credited for one bassist, one guitarist, which means the drummer, the keyboardist, I don't know if the guitarist is also doing lead or not. A lot of the other pieces that you hear fill out their songs are not members of the band. Like they're studio
correct.
musicians who are excellent at what they do. But I think the difference between the Backstreet Boys and Rascal Flatts to me, and let me know if you disagree, is anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together knows what the Backstreet Boys are. They're 5 guys who can really sing very well, and then the studio does whatever else. Like the music doesn't even matter. Rascal
Don't
Flatts,
underestimate the dancing of the Backstreet Boys as well.
fair
Like,
enough. But Rascal Flatts presents as a band when it's really 3 guys who can sing and also can sort of play their instruments sometimes, and then once in a while, like eventually they worked up to be good enough to be able to be on their records by like the 3rd or 4th one.
yeah,
I think that counts here.
it
It's got to count for
absolutely
something
does.
because they present as a band who, like, if you just found out, like, the Beatles for their first 4 albums were only playing 1 or 2 parts here or there
Yeah,
for the guitar, drums, and bass, you'd be like, "What?
I think it
That doesn't."
absolutely counts. I think here's the thing. I wanted to talk about the strength of the vocals because I know that this is not going to be a good score for them, and
Okay.
that you're naming all the reasons why.
Okay. Yeah,
Like
I
this
don't
is a
think it's
group who,
a basement score either because the vocals are good enough to count for something.
yeah, but I think here's the thing. If they were just presenting themselves as vocalists and we were completely cutting out the rest of the band function of it, this is a group that I would be talking about in like the mid sevens. They're that
Okay.
talented, even if you're subtracting the other instruments.
Okay.
But I think because of the whole kind of like subterfuge of it all a little bit, and like the presentation versus the reality, I'm fine going like in like maybe the high fives, low sixes.
Okay, I can't meet you in the 6s. I could give you like a 5.8.
That's fine. That's fine. The low sixes was a 6, I want to be clear.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
5.8 is perfect. I think
that's high.
they're
That's
that
as high as I
level
can
above average just vocally.
vocally.
And I think you are correct that the studio musicians are talented.
Of course, yeah,
So
that's
like,
never gonna take away from a record. I just find it
yeah.
annoying that, like, the average listener to their band probably thinks that they're playing everything, and they're not.
And I also find that annoying, especially when you
Yeah,
look at the music videos and you see like them holding instruments and shit. Like,
yeah. I think it would be fair to say that the Charlie Daniels Band gets a full 1.5 above where where Rascal Flatts is. I'm gonna give them a 7.3 unless you disagree.
I do not disagree with the 7.3. I think that's a good spot. I think the big thing to talk about for Charlie Daniels, you've waxed poetic about the musicians, and I completely agree with you on the musicians. So I'm not going to harp on that again. It's the improvement in Charlie Daniels'
Sure.
vocals.
Yeah,
Like that's not anything to sniff at. Like
and the
that's a significant
sustains.
improvement.
I mean, he did it over decades and decades and decades, and vocally
Yeah.
sounded good in his late 70s.
Yeah, it's a
Matters.
significant improvement between the 2 albums we listened to. I'm curious to find out where in his discography that bar starts raising. Like,
Yeah,
the
we'll
first
find out.
album is vocally not that strong, it's Sandler-esque. I'm curious when
Yeah,
he shirks the Sandler.
sure.
Uh,
Right, right.
I'm curious about that, and I'm curious when that just kinda picks up.
Yeah.
But I mean, Charlie Daniels is a good vocalist, an incredible fiddle player, and I think the whole band itself contributes
Yeah,
just really top-notch instruments.
for sure. Moving on to songwriting, Rascal Flatts. I gave you all the statistics as we went album for album. I will say this, on their 3 records, there was 1 song that was solely written by members of the band. This is gonna be a low score because here's the thing, even with their like, their 2 to 4 contributions on writing for the album, they're
Yeah.
always writing with multiple other writers. They're
Mhm.
mostly having their songs written for them, and the songs are bad.
Yes. I mean, that's all true. The thing that really pisses me off about like, I'm very forgiving in this category, I think. I
Mhm.
always have been. If you have a lot of songs being written for you, but you write your big hit, I will give you
Oh,
bonus
sure,
points for
yeah,
that.
you
It's the
could do
fact that they
that.
didn't write any of their hits.
Mm.
They didn't write
I
any
w
of their hits. They barely contributed to writing. Like, I understand. Yeah, I know. I understand that, like, I'm not gonna besmirch a vocalist for singing other people's songs.
Sure,
I'm not gonna besmirch them for that.
totally fine.
I mean, I'm in a cover band. I
Sure.
can't besmirch somebody for that. You know, I'm not sitting here saying like, "Well, the songs that we wrote are so much better than these covers," because I don't think
You
that.
didn't also record, like, a bunch 10 records of all the covers and then be like, "I am the greatest songwriter," which not that
No.
they did that either, but,
No,
like,
I
that's
know.
what we're the scale we're grading them on, so
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, we are comparing these artists every week that we do this podcast to the greatest songwriters of all time.
Uh-huh.
And we've come across multiple songwriters who, you know, touch the eaves of that tree of the
Mhm.
greatest songs ever written.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Rascal Flatts, they're not writing them, and the parts they are writing are all on bad songs because all the songs are bad.
Correct.
So I'm gonna give them a point 4.
A point 4, I love it. They've got it. Now, the opposite problem happens with Charlie Daniels. I thought all 3 albums were good to very good. I thought all of them had interesting arrangements. I thought they all had, like, very cool compositions on a lot of the records, and all 3 records were distinctively different in their style and approach,
Yeah,
which pretty much checks all the boxes that we are looking for songwriting.
it
So
is
this is
very true.
another strong score from me, another score that's probably gonna be, like, up around a 7. Um,
I was thinking a 7 to a 7.2, like, in that range.
I'll give him a 7.1.
Yeah, I think it's a good, for everything that you just said. The big thing that struck me was in a realm that can get extremely repetitive,
Totally.
because one thing about country is that the way the instrumentation sounds, it can get very repetitive and samey.
Mhm.
And I think that country functions its best when you get to infuse other genres into it,
And
and I think
clearly
that they do it in an effortless way.
totally, totally.
So, I think a 7.1 is a good score for them.
Excellent. And then look, I'm not we don't do we even have to rehash it? Do you wanna just give another point 4 for Poetic for Rascal Flatts? Just assume that they're contributing songwriting and
I mean,
lyrics
here's the thing, I would
equally what
assume
in the
that the
places that they
lyrics
do.
have to be what they're contributing.
Okay. It's not super
Truly,
helpful.
it's not super helpful.
They're also not good.
They're not good, and that's the problem, and again, we're dealing with the fact that their 4 biggest hits that I can list are all covers. I almost wanna I wish I had more
I
clarification on what they
wish
contributed,
I
bec
had
I wish I had more clarification on what they contributed because I truly feel like if they aren't like, I feel like this could be a point 1, but I'll give them a point 4
Yeah, it's fine.
because I have to assume that they're contributing lyrics even though I
Yeah,
don't necessarily think they are.
exactly. So,
Like,
it
I
is what
think
it is.
this very well could have been a point 1 that we then
Mhm.
don't factor into the end of year awards,
Yeah, sure.
but
But
I don't
how
have
do we
enough
know?
info to cut that.
Exactly. Charlie Daniels, man, I there were times when it was weird and bizarre. It was unique, though. and it was authentic. I think The Devil Went Down to Georgia is an example of excellent storytelling in lyrics. I'm mostly got if I had to stop and think of something lyrically, it was just because it was like weird instead of bad. So
Yeah.
I'm not really knocking points here. I would be okay living around the average for them.
Yeah, I do think this lives around the average. I think there are times when it's strange, but there are times when it's good. And I think the sheer storytelling aspect of The Devil Went Down to Georgia showcases a depth that I wish I had more of. Like I wish
Sure.
I had more lyrics in the Charlie Daniels discography. Maybe there are that maybe they're deep cuts that I don't
Could be.
know. But I just feel like you know what it reminds me of?
Go ahead.
This is a very niche thing, but like, have you ever been like walking
No.
on like the beach
Okay.
and like where the water's coming in and because the ocean is in, you don't see that there's like a dugout hole in the sand.
Okay.
And that,
Sure.
you go from like ankle deep in the waves to like you're like
Yeah.
nearly knee deep from that 1 second. That's what that song feels like. I feel like every other song is like ankle deep. There are like moments, but it's like kind of surface level lyrics. They're good, but they're not
Yeah.
rewriting. And then there's one song that's just like this really deep epic battle between this one random dude and the devil for like control of his soul. And then we're
Sure.
back to like a song about Mississippi. Like we're chilling. Like it's very interesting.
It is. So what do you want? 5?
Yeah, let's give him a 5.
Cool. Is there any X factor that I should be thinking of here?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are definitely things to talk about. I mean, like Charlie Daniels probably has a little more just for the sheer legacy,
Mhm.
like being in the Grand Ole Opry, being in the
Sure.
Country Music Hall of Fame.
Yes.
I don't particularly see too much for Rascal Flatts. I mean, they've had a ton of success.
Mhm. Definitely.
I mean, they've had a ton of success. They've won a good amount of awards, CMAs, CMTs. Is that enough? They were nominated for Grammys.
Also, the other thing that's kinda interesting about The Devil Went Down to Georgia, and if you haven't thought about this, it'll probably click with you right away. It is often cited, like, in the music historians, world as basically the first example or one of the very first examples of country rap emerging as a genre.
Okay. I mean, hey, that's I'll be honest with you, not expected there. Not
But
expected
you
there.
get a like, because of the way he uses that, like, rhythmic spoken voice really more than singing it to tell the verses.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
And
All
if
right.
you listen to rap in the late '70s, that's kind of
Yeah.
how it starts to emerge. It's like this, like, melodic speaking voice.
Fascinating, fascinating.
Yeah. I don't know if you
Okay.
wanna give anything for that, but
Here's the thing. I think a lot of their stuff cancels out
sure.
because Rascal Flatts is also a member of the Grand Ole Opry.
Okay, fair enough.
So I mean, Rascal Flatts has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and the CMA Walk of Fame or the
Sure,
Music
sure.
City Walk of Fame. Sorry, not the CMA Walk of Fame, the Music City Walk of Fame.
But
I
did
think
they pioneer country rap?
no. And I think here's the thing. I think if we're going to give Charlie Daniels any credit for any of those things, we'll give them the same credit and then give Charlie Daniels an extra 0.2 for the country rap.
Right, point 2 it is.
Okay.
We'll just move on, and I'll give you the final scores, and I'll tell you, we've got a clear winner today.
Okay. I thought we might.
Yeah. And winning today's episode with a score of 32.1 is
Rascal Flat. No, yeah.
Charlie Daniels
Charlie
Charlie
Daniels.
Daniels Band. Yeah. Rascal Flatts, strong second place with a 17.5.
It's too high.
Yeah, look, they would have lost every episode this season but the first one. And our first episode featured 2 groups that did not write any songs.
Yeah. I mean,
They would have
truly,
lost against every artist that we've covered so far this season, except for the ones from the first episode. So
Yeah. And here's the thing. They're Nazis, so I hate them.
Deservedly so.
Really what it boils down to. But like musically, it is what it is. Great singers. That's it.
That's it.
Go sing
And-
songs. But
I agree.
you know,
Wrap it up. Hey, next week or 2 weeks or whatever, when we do this next, we will be doing an episode themed around bands that could kill you. I mean, theoretically, all these bands who are living could kill you if they really wanted to, but like the thing that they are named after is something that you could die from.
okay.
And that is how very
What a
tightly
connection.
all these bands are connected to each other.
What
all
a
these
connection.
episodes.
Now, I mean, to be fair, if a rascal was flattening us, it would kill us.
Like a rascal scooter. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Or just like,
Or just
oh,
like a
you
rascal.
rascals.
Just a rascal
Yeah.
coming over and flattening us.
That's fair. That's yeah.
All right. Listen.
Charlie Daniels, we know how he feels about killing people. So
Ooh. All right. Hey. It's something that I wasn't surprised about. I'll be honest with you. But here's the thing. I can only hope that maybe he would have changed his tune the second time around.
Yeah.
We could hope.
totally.
We could hope the guy who sang at Jimmy Carter's inauguration was still in there somewhere.
Yeah, we can hope.
But we know the truth about Rascal Flatts.
Yes, we do.
And on that note, do me a favor, everybody. Do me a huge favor. Just go listen to good music.
Yeah.
Don't do what we have to do.
Great point.
We're here to tell you what's good music, and I'll tell you, out of 6 albums this week, we had 2.5 good albums.
Fair enough.
And 0 good people. All right.
Yep. Okay, bye.
Have a great day. Oh man.
When you're right, you're right.
I mean, what else can you say?
Not much.
Yeah,
man.
I did. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. Luckily, I sang a couple Rascal Flatts songs, but I've never been Rascal Flatts fan.
Okay.
Mainly because I like music.
That is a big part of it.
Yeah. Well, it's like, listen, some of their songs are catchy, but they're not.
Yeah,
They're
that's what
covers.
they're designed to be.
They're covers
Yeah.
too. Like, Life is a Highway is a catchy ass song. Guess what? They've had as much to do with it as I did in terms of writing. And even when you listen to the original, you listen to Tom Cochrane's version, it is the same song.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing like distinctive about it. It's just a re-record.
I'm sorry. In November 2000, the group contributed the song Walk the Llama Llama for the soundtrack of Emperor's New Groove.
Okay.
Interesting. I take it all back.
Interesting.
I take it all back.
Interesting.
All right.
Okay.
Listen. I'm out of here.
Okay.
Go enjoy the rest of your night. I'm sure it's
I will.
8 seconds to bedtime for you.
Very close.
Hey,
if you haven't started yet, you should watch the Daredevil series on Disney Plus.
Oh, I know. I'm so excited to watch it.
Yeah, I'm on the 3rd episode. The first 2 were excellent.
Yeah. I'm really excited to watch it. I'm debating, which you might be able to help me with then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm debating on starting from the Netflix one. Like how
okay, yeah.
Like just to like refresh it in my brain.
Sure.
So
I mean, if you got that kind of time, I mean, I know they do like it's still, Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio and like Karen and Foggy, and I haven't seen them yet, but I know John Bernthal's in the series as Punisher. So
yeah. Okay. Well,
yeah,
I might do that. I might just go check that out and kind of work my way into it. So, because I feel like I haven't watched them,
but it has started
years.
off like very strong.
Good. I'm excited. I thought it would. I mean, I thought it would. I don't know. I wasn't understanding why it got canceled when it did, but Netflix loves to cancel shows. I mean, that's their favorite thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That and raise their subscription prices. They're the 2 favorite things to do.
Prevent people from sharing.
All right.
Okay, now go.
All right. I'll see you, buddy.
Adios.
Adios.